São Luís is the capital and largest city of the Brazilian state of Maranhão. The city is located on Ilha de São Luís in the Baía de São Marcos, an extension of the Atlantic Ocean which forms the estuary of Pindaré, Mearim, Itapecuru and other rivers. Its coordinates are 2.53 degrees south, 44.30 degrees west. The city proper has a population of some 986,826 people. The metropolitan area totals 1,227,659, ranked as the 16th largest in Brazil. São Luís, created originally as St. Louis, is the only Brazilian state capital founded by France, and it is one of the 3 Brazilian state capitals located on islands. The city has 2 major seaports, Madeira Port and Itaqui Port, through which a substantial part of Brazil's iron ore, originating from the Amazon region, is exported. The city's main industries are metallurgical with alumar and Vale. São Luís is home of the Federal University of Maranhão. São Luís was the hometown of famous Brazilian samba singer Alcione, Brazilian writers Aloísio Azevedo, Ferreira Gala and José Montello, Belgian naturalized soccer player Luís Oliveira, and the musician João de Vale and Zé Cabaleiro, a música popular brasileira singer. History. Originally the town was a large village of the Tupinamba tribe. The first Europeans to see it were the French, in 1612, who were intended to make it the center of a colony named Equinoctial France. They built a fort named St. Louis de Maranhão after King Louis XIII and his saintly ancestor Louis IX. The settlement was conquered for Portugal by Jerónimo de Albuquerque in 1615, when it was renamed São Luís. There had been little time for the French to build a city, a fact which has led to some controversy as to the actual date of the founding of the city, whether by the French or the Portuguese. In 1641, the city was invaded by the Dutch, who left in 1645. In 1677, the city was made the seat of the new Roman Catholic Diocese of São Luís de Maranhão. Only when those invasions ceased permanently did the colonial government decide to create the state of Grão-Pará e Maranhão, independent from the rest of the country. By that time, the economy was based on agriculture, particularly the exportation of sugar cane, cacao and tobacco. Conflicts amongst the local elites would lead to the Beckman's Revolt. This started due to the struggle between Jesuits and landowners, the first against the Indian slavery and the others against the unfair treatment given by the Portuguese authorities. The situation led to an uprising against the Portuguese, led by the brothers Manuel and Thomas Beckman, and lasted till the intervention of Portuguese troops under the command of the General Gomes Freire Andrade. After few skirmishes, the rebels were defeated and the Beckman brothers arrested and, after a brief trial, were hanged, drawn and quartered. The last words of Manuel Beckman at the gallows were, "Pelo povo de Maranhão moro contente." The phrase decorates the main hall of State Council building. Soon after the outbreak of the American Civil War, the region started to provide cotton to Great Britain. The wealth generated by this activity was used to modernize the city, to bring religious men to come and teach in its schools, and supplement the water supply. The city came to be the 3rd most populous city in the country. By the end of the 19th century, agriculture was in decay, and since then the city's population has been searching for other ways to make a living. Nowadays, São Luís has the largest and best preserved heritage of colonial Portuguese architecture of all Latin America. The island is known as the Island of Love, and as the Brazilian Athens, due to its many poets poets and writers, such as Sotero dos Reis, Aloísio Azevedo, Graca Arana, Goncalves Dias, José Montello, Ferreira Gala, among others. The ancestral composition of São Luís, according to an autosomal DNA study, is 42% European, 39% Native American and 19% African. Economy. Maranhão's economy was one of the most prosperous in the country until the mid-19th century. However, after the Civil War, the United States of America, when it lost space in the export of cotton, the state collapsed. Only after the end of the 1960s did the state begin to receive incentives and emerge from seclusion, by way of road and rail connections with other regions. In the late 18th century, increased international demand for cotton to meet the English textile industry, coupled with reduced production because of the North American War of Independence in the United States, provided the perfect setting to stimulate cotton production in Maranhão. Shipping companies and Southampton and Amp Company Mirana Shipping Company, shipping steam, which performed the transportation of cotton from the states of Georgia and Alabama, began operating in St. Louis Shaft, London, leading to production of caxias and Baixada Maranhão. By the early 20th century, St. Louis was still exporting cotton to England by sea, through the lines and boat the Red Cross Line and Company Marana Liverpool Shipping Company. During this period, the golden phase of the economy of Maranhão, São Luís has a living cultural effervescence. The city, which related more to the European capitals than the other Brazilian cities, was the first company to receive an Italian opera, had as few sidewalks and lighting in the country, received weekly the latest news from French literature. The great fortunes cotton and local business sent the children to study in Recife, Salvador, Rio de Janeiro and, especially, Europe. The opening of the port of Itaqui in St. Louis is currently second in depth in the world, second only to the Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and one of the busiest in the country. Served to drain the industrial production in iron ore coming from Transeira dos Carajás, activity operated by Companhia Vale do Rio Doce. The proximity to strategic markets in Europe and North America has led the port an attractive option to export, but suffers from increased coastal shipping. Its economy is based on the aluminum processing industry, food, tourism and services. St. Louis has the largest GDP in the state, hosting 2 public universities and various educational institutions and private colleges. According to the latest data from the IBGE survey of the city of St. Louis has a GDP of $9,340,944,000 to 29, and thus the national economy from over 5,560 Brazilian municipalities, and occupying the 14th position among the capitals. Climate. The city of São Luís experiences a tropical monsoon climate with a short dry season from August to November. During this period, when the equatorial rain band associated with the highly seasonalized positioning of the intertropical convergence zone is not over the city, warm to hot temperatures and abundant equatorial sunshine prevail. Conversely, the humid, rainy wet season dominates the remaining majority of the year, with abundant cloud cover prevalent and heavy rains falling from December to July, with the heaviest rainfall and highest cloud cover from January to May. The cloudiest month of the year is March, with a monthly average of 107.2 hours of bright sunshine throughout the month, while the sunniest month of the year is August, with a monthly average of 260.3 hours of sunshine throughout the month. month. The wettest month is April with an average monthly total of 476 mm of precipitation, while the driest month is October with an average precipitation total of 8 mm. The city is home to the City Orange-Door State Park, formerly the fully protected City Orange-Door Ecological Station. The municipality also contains a small part of the Baía de Mearim hence Environmental Protection Area, a 1,775,035.6 hectares sustainable use conservation unit created in 1991 that has been a Ramsar site since 2000. The 2,634 hectares Bicanga State Park is just south of the city. Education. Portuguese is the official national language, and thus the primary language taught in schools, but English and Spanish are part of the official high school curriculum. Educational institutions include Universidade Federal de Maranhão, Universidade Estadual de Maranhão, Faculdade Santa Teresinha, Centro de Ensino Universitário de Maranhão, Instituto Federal de Educação, Ciência e Tecnologia de Maranhão, Faculdade São Luís, Unidade de Ensino Superior Dom Bosco, Faculdade Atenas Maranhense, Faculdade de Maranhão. Culture. São Luís is known for its tiles, which most buildings in the historical center are covered in. Because of it, the city is also known as the Tiles City. It also has some cultural peculiarities, namely, tambor de crioula, Afro-Brazilian dance in which gaily clad women caught a bateria of tambors, whirling and gyrating in time to the music they negotiate for prime position in the center of the bateria. Tambor de mina, not to be confused with the above. This is the local variant of the Afro-Brazilian religion candomblé. Bumba Meu Boy. The Bumba Meu Boy is a popular farce which takes its form as a herd musical pantomime. Practice is a public affair and begins directly after Easter, reaching its climax in June when literally hundreds of groups perform on a nightly basis for popular acclaim. Set personalities and characters play out a comedic tragedy with a metaphor for social harmony at its heart. Settlers, the infamous Coronis, Indians, spirit workers, African slaves and forest spirits are enacted, though costumes, choreography and music, all performed amongst the all-night revelry. The crowd joins in with singing, dancing and dependent on the groups so tack the playing of matricas. Like the festival of São João and its requisite foro dance in the northeastern states further south, Bumba Meu Boy is a harvest festival but with the bull as its centerpiece. Capoeira. The São Luís form of capoeira is said to be akin to the kind of capoeira now recognized as traditional Bahian capoeira that predated the Bahian, Angola regional polemic which split the capoeira world in the 1950s. Historical Center. In 1997, the city's historical center was made a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Starting in 1989, there has been an extensive program to restore and renovate the colonial-era buildings of the city's historical center. Transportation. The city is served by the Marechal Cunha Machado International Airport. There are 184 bus lines operating in the metropolitan area, served by a fleet of more than 3,000 buses. More than 500,000 people use the bus system every day. The metropolitan area has a network of alternative transportation that works with drivers who usually have their own coach and organize themselves into cooperatives to enable them to provide the public transport service duly legalized in the Department of City Traffic. The city has also an efficient radio system with more than 2,000 taxicabs accredited. São Luís is home to a port that receives boats that carry passengers across to the city of Alcantara, which is located in the metropolitan area. It also has another port that receives ferries carrying people and cars that are destined for cities in the region of the state known as the Lowlands. Being an island, the city has only one output ground, the bridge of the Estreito dos Mosquitos, which links the island of São Luís by road BR-135. Telecommunications. Local area phone code to call São Luís City is 98. Sports. Football is the most popular sport in São Luís, though its clubs aren't much well known in the rest of Brazil. The professional clubs in São Luís are Sampaio Corrêa, who currently play in Brazil's 2nd division, Moto Club, who play in the 4th division, and Maranhão Atlético Clube, who take part in the regional Campeonato Maranhense. Notable residents: Maria Firmina dos Reis, abolitionist and author; Dan Kearns, Canadian football player; Steve Kearns, Canadian football player.